everybody. So I'm Carrie Regenstreef, and the organization that I work for is called Sudbury Shared Harvest. We do a few different kinds of urban agriculture projects, but our main focus is the food forests. And when I say food forests with an S on the end, it's hard to say that, but that's because this was our biggest one. This was our first project, and originally when we started, the city gave us exactly to here, the end of it, and they said you can't go past that pole. And we always figured, well, if it goes well, we'll ask them to expand out that way. And then people kept wanting us to get involved in doing a garden in a different part of the city. So now we have 8 other much smaller food forests than this. Like some of them are as small as like a few hundred square feet. It's just like a little patch, you know, and other ones are maybe a fifth of this size or something. This one we started in 2016, the planning for it, and the spring of 2017 we did the first half or so of the planting with volunteers. So we're a nonprofit organization, and we do have at times more than one, but at the moment one sort of paid staff, being me, that kind of organizes things like volunteers and events and things like that. And so we did it kind of in 2 phases, planted about half of it in the spring of 2016, so 7 years ago, and then 6 years ago the second, 17 and 18, so 5 and 6 years ago. So, and everything, like if you'd seen the pictures at that time, like when we were finished, I think Jenny was probably here very shortly after, if not at the planting. It was just wood chips with little plants everywhere. Like it's really quite amazing that this is what it looks like now. And I want to, really be able to answer questions that you might have and like try to tailor this to what is most important for you to learn about this, because as I understand kind of what you're doing, you're interested in knowing a little bit about plants that might be useful for some kind of a product or something like that. So like I'll give you kind of an overview of what's here to start with. Maybe like we'll take a little tour through, and I won't name every single plant. We do have about 40 plants on what we call our plant list. Of course, things pop in, they disappear. If they pop in and it's a native plant and it's, we probably keep it, like the goldenrod right behind you. That we didn't plant that, but it's a native plant. It's April was just telling me about some of the medicinal uses of it, and so we're keeping it. And then in other cases we get something that we even planted, like the sea buckthorn here, that really sends out a lot of suckers and wants to take over the whole area. So we have to keep sort of digging those out, and we've given some away to people who have tried planting them in their yards, and that could work, which is a point too. In addition to the fruits of this being kind of open to anyone who wants to help themselves to the actual fruits or leaves or plant parts, we actually also encourage people, within reason, to take cuttings of plants. Like there's a lot of plants here that we started from like a little chunk like that, and it's now spread out all over. And so if people want to take a little chunk home, we do weekly work bees here on Wednesday evenings, and it's kind of a drop-in, and people will come and do some weeding, or they'll do some other kinds of stuff. And starting pretty soon, once the weather's just a little bit cooler, more than this, we're going to do some transplanting. We did that last fall, where we would just take a chunk and kind of put it somewhere else that didn't have much going on and let them spread. So that's a thing to think about, is that like if there was a place that somebody wanted to grow something, and kind of commercially there's some stuff that grows so prolifically that you could kind of start some little thing with a free plant and possibly have lots of it. So we'll just do kind of, like I said, a little bit of a walk through, not so much medicinal as in oral medicinal, but medicinal properties as a topical. You can make like a salve out of it, and it has many properties that are useful that way. And like I said, very prolific. So, you know, you can, if you have somewhere to grow some of that, like it grows like crazy. We do what's called chop and drop. So like I said, we've cut it down about twice during the season, not because we don't like it, but because it actually makes a great mulch and a great sort of a nutrient accelerator for the soil, because it's got very deep roots and pulls a lot of nutrients from very deep in the ground that are not otherwise available to plants. So we chop it down and just kind of leave it on the ground very casually and let it blend in. We have lots of hostas here because the early sprouts of it in the spring are actually edible. We haven't ourselves as an organization done a lot with it yet, but people could come and, you know, take some as food in the spring. Bee balm, you'll see way more of it as we walk through. Not only pretty flowers that the bees love, but the leaves have a lovely smell and flavor. Like when you're going past, this one isn't the prettiest plant. There's some bigger ones that might not look quite as, but it makes a nice tea, has a lovely smell and taste. So maybe actually we'll go this way, berry, but it's really hard to pick because of all the thorns on it. Being called sea buckthorn, it has huge thorns.
Oh, but then it's easier to pick when it's actually ready after the frost, right?
Oh, is
Yeah,
that ready right now?
they do come off more easily.
Yeah.
No, these will get oranger and oranger, and they taste better after frost. And in fact, I have eaten them at the end of October before, and the orange color is quite a bit more orange.
Yeah.
Just keeps kind of getting more orange during fall. They're not really a
So the sourness
summer
that we're
fruit.
tasting right now is because they're not ripe.
Oh, they'll still be sour, but they'll be much better.
They're juicier and
flavor is better.
yeah, not quite as bitter.
Not quite as sour.
Or sour, I mean.
This, I think we started with, I can't remember how many plants, but it was trying to take over this whole bed a few years ago, so we dug a bunch of it out. We kind of let a couple of plants continue. People take it home for their cats, or you can make a lovely tea. It's a relaxing tea.
So very similar to lavender.
Yeah, it's when you get closer, like, and it's very obvious from the smell, it's not lavender. It's kind of, it's got its own.
It's very close to lemon balm.
In the
Lemon balm and
yeah, cats. People give people. I don't know because I don't have cats, but people give catnip to their cats. Like, I'm not sure fresh only. I mean, dried only, because I've only ever seen it sold as a dried thing. But
I used to have a barrel of this stuff in my backyard.
we have not had yet to both cherry plums. We haven't had yet, and the cherry. We have not gotten a lot of the cherry yet. We do have a cold. It's like we plant cold hardy plants, so we're not trying to grow cherry trees like the cherries you buy in the grocery store. They're all varieties that have been bred in Saskatchewan specifically for very cold climates. Same with our apple trees. Like, we're not trying to grow gala apples or honey crisp or anything like that. We're trying to grow varieties that most people have never heard of. And so the cherries, yeah, not sure why we're not getting cherries. The cherries spread like crazy. This whole patch here is what used to be one cherry tree that's just kind of spreading around. And we're trying to cut them down so that they'll focus on the one tree. But a lot of this has just popped up this summer. Like, we cut down so much in this area. So yeah. And that was probably, that I believe is the one, either one of this one or this one are the original planted ones in this corner.
But this is cherry tree.
This is cherry, yeah. And
Kind of almost looks like birch.
something that's gonna, not spread as much or something like that. Anyways, we do have the odd one that pops up that is not from wild, but we have planted a few and they've, done. But we had planted the other ones earlier, and they really do well. Anyways, the apple trees that, if people hadn't picked them before they were ready, there should still be apples on them, because a lot of these varieties are not supposed to be ready till at least now, and sometimes as late as September, mid-September. There are, pardon?
Oh, I think that's a pear tree.
Yeah, and there's a pear one. As you come through here, we'll see the pear that's got. Yeah, the pears aren't ripe yet. So the apple, there are 6 apple trees that were planted and 2 pear that were planted before the food forest. So the folks at the community garden here with the vegetable garden, they have like a whole other set of volunteers and organization that they do. And before any of this happened with us at Sudbury Shared Harvest, they had just wanted to plant some fruit trees and planted 6 apple, a couple of the cherry that are over that way are from back then, and the 2 pear. So they're a little bit bigger than like that. You wouldn't expect an apple tree to be that big after 6 years. Like this here is probably close to 10 years old now. And they're producing quite a few apples, but they are also dwarf varieties. So they're meant to not get as tall as full apple trees, and I'll prune them specifically, try to keep them from getting too tall. We want them to be so that you can pick them without a ladder.
Right.
There's some coconut trees that are like that.
Is that right?
So you have the
They're meant.
dwarf version, and then they have a really big one.
Yeah.
Dwarf coconut trees, they don't grow any further than right.
Like you can actually pick.
Yeah.
So that's the idea with these, is that you can pick them without, endangering your life. So through here it's mainly the apple. So there's all tufts of it all through there too. So creeping thyme, it's not the kind that you normally cook with. So it's edible, but it's not, it can be kind of bitter, like it can be quite strong. It probably would make a nice, like, something in a tea or something like that, or even in a salve or a cream. Like the smell of it is beautiful, but it's strong for cooking.
When it's a different flavor than the thyme that we're used to as well, that you buy. It's sort of a different flavor-ish.
Like the thyme you buy is an annual, and so of course all of these are perennial, right? We want to not have to replant things every year, and this stuff does really spread, which is what we want. Like we want these wood chips to eventually all become something green. So,
and again, it's really good medicinally because of its strength, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Have you used creeping thyme in making something
mostly
before?
for scenting.
Yeah, really, I love
mostly
the smell
for
of it.
scenting. So,
and it has a really strong
Scenting for your medicines?
flavor.
Yeah, to override some of the not so nice smells.
Fair point. Hey.
Now, to be very honest, I'm not positive what this is yet. This is popped in here. I think it's something we have over there called aronia or chokeberry, but I'm not positive it's the same one. And I don't think it is. So I'm going to have to find out. Yeah, I would have put that. Okay, so another one came off easily, but it wasn't soft, and it's quite like dry and almost a little bit bitter.
Right.
So if I had left that
it
on the
might
counter
ripen
for a few
over.
days,
Yeah.
it probably would have, like, because it did come off easy.
Yeah. All right. I'm
All right.
gonna have to run.
Okay.
So,
I don't know what happened.
all right. Thank you.
Later in the season, when these trees would have so many leaves on them, and this area is shaded for a lot of the day, like it's sunny now, but it doesn't really get sunny here till like 2 o'clock in the afternoon almost. In some parts of the year anyway, so maybe earlier in the year. So we get raspberries, but in 6 years, if you'd planted that many raspberries, you might have a crazy patch here by then if they were really doing well. So that's why we started to move some to other areas. And this is a purple. They're just different color variety.
And learning how to identify plants. So that's what I decided I was going to utilize to help the community to forge on those strengths, because those are a part of our culture that wasn't taken from us. It wasn't looked at as a part of culture, it's looked at as a savage way of life. But what it is it's a knowledge based on thousands and millions of years of things that were naturally given to us by Mother Earth. So how do we now incorporate that into our life? Because these things are free. These things are given to us as gifts. And we are also gifts. So how do we utilize the gifts that we were given and the gifts that Mother Earth gives us? So helping people find their purpose and their gift, and helping them to practice utilizing those gifts. So that's what we're learning today, is we're learning what we're good at. So maybe you don't like harvesting the medicine, but you like to process the medicine, or maybe you like to intake the medicine, you know, and you really need that medicine and it helps you in your everyday living. So we're gonna find out today, like, what part of this do we really like? You know, there's lots of bugs out here, so there's mosquitoes and things, you're gonna have that to go through. So I'm just gonna say right now, I don't think there's a lot of bugs. It's not really bad, but if you need bug spray, I hope you brought some, because I just have like the natural kind, so it's not going to be as potent and things like that.
We're here to immerse ourselves with the mosquitoes.
Yeah, so, you know. So this space here, I actually work to restore the natural medicines and fruits that are here. And so all that I've done since 2020 is like kind of transplanted in some medicines, flowers, fruits, trees, shrubs. And then I've incorporated some annual veggies and things like that to give back to my community. So the food isn't really sold on a regular basis. I do sell some of my produce to Nowhere Public House. So if you ever want to try some of the food that comes from here, you can go and get a snack plate there, and probably something from my garden will be on that plate. So they're a really big supporter. And yeah, so today we'll probably look at some different medicines. You can all harvest some of those medicines to take home. I can tell you how to dry them, and also there's a strawberry there if somebody wants to pick it. There might be a couple more around. But I welcome you to harvest anything that is ready, because I need help harvesting. So yeah, it's just me managing the space. So yeah, so all of the golden kind of flowers that you see that look kind of puffy like a grain, that's a goldenrod there. So that's a medicine, and it can be used in your body butters as well. Yeah, so.
Thank you. Yeah, we chatted a little bit about goldenrod at Dozzi too. So,
yeah, I haven't used a lot of goldenrod, but I want to start using more of it. So I'll probably do a bit of harvesting, just because when I take things out of these beds that are where my food is, like this is sweet fern. This is also medicine that I harvest. It's also a natural bug repellent, so you can, you know, extract this into oils, and you could just rub the leaf right on your skin. But so like instead of like throwing this in the compost, I'll just harvest this stuff that's in the bed, and then that's what I'll be drying to use. Yes. And I'm really new to like gardening, like veggies and foods, and I'm new to the herbalism, but I guess what I learned from my family was herbalism. I never thought of myself as a herbalist until somebody's like, well, I think that's a strength of yours. So I'm starting to really learn more about different things. But these are some medicines that I want to send you home with today. So these ones here, these ones are echinacea. These are purple coneflower. And you can dry the petals and make tea with them. It's an immune booster, this one.
can I mix the two?
Yeah, you can. Actually, what I've done is I've picked some of these, I've picked some of this, I've picked some of that, I picked some yarrow, and I picked some self-heal, and I put it all in a pot on water, and I usually cook it on the fire.
Yes.
So that's usually what I do, but yeah, you can mix these things together and make a beautiful tea with them. And this one here is a wild bergamot. So it's like so you know what's weird though was that these started like that.
Okay.
But then this year they're wild.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if that's a thing
So
or.
they started from.
They started out like that pink fuchsia,
Oh, really? Oh.
and then this year they're like this purple.
Okay. His little legs.
Yeah.
That big orange pollen sacs on him.
So they're really happy here because I don't cut anything down. Yeah. So I think what we'll do is we can take some of these, but I don't think we'll take from this one because this one looks like it's getting a mildew on it. So I think that one where you are might be the better choice, right behind you, Gina. It's looking a little bit healthier.
You can use the flower, the leaves.
Yeah, you can.
All have that
Yeah.
flavor.
So the flower and the leaf and the root, they're all used for different things. So this is where I advise you to do your own research because you can like make certain things with certain parts of the plant. So your body products most likely are going to use the root, and like the teas are going to be like the petals and the leaves.
Why the root?
Because the root will have different properties in the medicine, and it's going to be good for different things. Like maybe the tea is good for stomach digestion.
Okay.
And then the salves are better for the roots because there's concentration of medicine in the root. But it's also how you cook the medicine.
Gotcha.
And how you prepare it. That's going to make a difference in your body products and what kind of body product are you making. So that's where I think it would be good for you if you harvest these things to find out which part you're using for which kind of cream, because I don't know what kind of products you are making, that kind of thing. And if you want certain products good for different things, it's best to use the part of the plant that is going to be best for your salve or poultice or whatever it is that you're making. And the teas are pretty simple and straightforward. I've just used the petals and the leaves.
You add honey?
I put honey, I put other sweet fern in there, and I put yarrow in there, and I put self-heal in there. I just put a bunch of nice things because sometimes certain plants have like a bitter taste.
Yes.
So you kind of counter them with different more
that are sweeter, and then it kind of balances it out.
Exactly. So honey and maple syrup are two of my main sweeteners.
Okay.
But they're also medicines. So that's why you have to be careful because maple syrup is a detox. So the maple sap is going to affect each person differently, and the amount that you use is also going to affect you differently. So it's just dependent on you as a person,
how your body reacts.
Yeah, so just know that when you're going to use those things to maybe see how your body takes it before you just make a big pot of it and drink it all, because it's like 1 cup a day. It's not.
And then kind of see, and you're like, oh, I'm good. Then next time I'll do like 1.5.
Yeah, and some things might be working for you, so it's going to be something that you are going to come up with a routine. Okay. And then what that routine is good for you, right?
I have to wash this before I eat it.
You should, yeah. You can put a little water, rub it a little bit. You're not going to just throw the leaves away. Like, we actually utilize all of the plants when we harvest them. We're not trying to throw anything away. Yeah. So when we harvest something, we take something, we try to use everything from that plant. Makes sense. Yeah. So like even the dead like blackberry branches, I will use them as trellis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like I just try to reuse things or find a use for things so that I don't have to spend money, and I feel like if I'm going to take that down, I may as well use it.
Yeah. And honestly, with today's day and age, we're just so wasteful in everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Might as well use something that's going to rot back right into the ground.
Yeah, exactly. And so I feel strongly about teaching people how to reduce waste and how to start by doing it. Something as simple as donating cardboard to gardens, or like I'm always looking for cardboard, and so for me it's like people know that they can donate their cardboards here, their glass jars, or like, because once you process the herbs, then you got to have a place to store them.
Yeah.
So glass jars, and even when I'm planting and seeding, like yogurt containers are really nice to use to make soaps or to make seeding containers, things like that. So really showing people like there are ways to reduce our waste, and if we don't want to do it within our home, we can still donate to places who do those things, and instead of putting it in the landfill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You might as well give everything a second life or even a third life.
Yeah. Yeah, like to me, we're using a lot of resources, we're extracting a lot of resources, and we're causing a lot of destruction. So how do we give back to our mother to help her heal?
Just taking and taking, and how is she going to heal, right?
Yeah, so the thing that I also like to talk about is how, like, Mother Earth, water, they heal themselves. Your body heals itself. So if you allow those things to happen and you give the time to that process, then you can start to let things slowly heal within you, within the water, within the land. And since I've started restoring this space, in the 3 years, I'm seeing new things. And so it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time for you to see those changes happening. And it's going to take time for you to notice new things within yourself, I think, of the changes that are happening. I found even with the food, eating cleaner food detoxed me. And it took a while for me to get used to it. But now that I'm used to it, even leaving my community here and going off to school in a place where I had to buy meat and buy food and fish and things like that, our bodies reacted very badly. We couldn't eat the meat or anything outside of here because we weren't used to it. Our bodies weren't used to that food. So it took an adjustment. It took years of adjusting to be able to accept that food into my body. But it's also like, do I want to accept that food into my body? I don't know, because now I want to know what it's like to eat healthy and to have nutrient-rich food, right? And you can taste the difference. So
I believe it. Once upon a time when
those are, take some of these things home with you and read about them and find out more about them and how they could help you and how you can make these gifts your gifts. Like, I think that's really important for each of us, because we all have a purpose, and our purpose is what we know our purpose to be, and that's in your heart. You're going to know what that is because you're going to feel it. It's going to feel right. And when you start to get confused, go back to your heart. Always. Just always follow your heart. Because it's the external forces that are actually like pushing us into other directions of what our actual purposes are. Because our purpose doesn't bring them profit. So that's why it comes important for us to stop letting these four walls put us into this boundary of accepting who we are. We're allowed to go outside of that box. We're allowed to be ourselves. But you can't be afraid to do that. You can't be afraid of what other people might think about that, because they're too scared to stand up for themselves, and you need to show them how to do that. And that's what I'm learning with this whole job that I'm doing, with restoration, with awareness, with education. It's me telling my story and my lived experiences and bringing them forward and putting them on the table and saying, look, this is what I've learned from this. And I don't know if you can learn from that or maybe take something from that. But it seems a lot of people have taken things from the things that I've shared. And it seems to be the only way for us to come together, to work together, to be together. Because there are no races here except for the human race. We're all going to be living to the same goal of survival. And we're just unfortunately in a colonial world, but we still can find ways to decolonize ourselves and our lives. And it doesn't have to be completely, but it can be little things here and there. And I'm going to tell you, what you did today by decolonizing was coming to this space where it's off-grid. And you've survived over an hour here. And you Yeah, and you've definitely you definitely have to come back, and you definitely have to take stuff with you when you go home today. So let's go get some wintergreen so you guys can all go home with wintergreen, and it's a natural pain reliever, so it's used as a tea. You can dry it, drink it fresh, whatever, so you guys will all get to take some of that. Yeah. Oh.
Oh no.
That's okay, it'll still grow. It'll still grow next year. Yep.
Here, this is a nice one. Nice and big. Careful. Oh, this one's big. Can't even come
That's
over
why it's not coming out, eh?
We're gonna cook with this
Oh,
tonight.
tonight.
Yeah.
I'm cooking.
Well, actually, maybe not tonight.
And it tastes good by itself.
Yeah.
I was just holding my habits.
It's really good. Just careful because I have squash in this bed.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It will be good. So a lot of these too, I have valerian. So that's also another medicine. And then this one here is yarrow. So this is also good to harvest. It's also a bug repellent. But this one here is a coagulant. So this one stops bleeding. Yeah, so like they used it a lot for.
Like at parks and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Pulled some out of my garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cucumbers are supposed to taste
Yeah.
fresh out of the garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're too watery at the grocery store.
my god.
Mhm.
It's good.
Oh, I'm glad you like it. Yeah, so yarrow, that's another one. Also, you can like, put the flour itself into like an olive oil and extract the oils and make like bug repellents or any kind of.
So it'll
You
be
can
the
put the
flour.
yarrow into your salves.
So it'll be like you harvest the flowers and then you put it like in olive oil and kind of.
Yeah, but I would, again, each plant is different with the leaf, the root, and the flower. So you're gonna
Okay.
find out what is good for what. This is where you got to do your research because it's depending on what you're using it for,
Okay.
and how to prepare it is gonna be different for each thing. And I don't know all of those uses for these things. I know how to identify them now and when to harvest them.
Okay.
These ones here, they're starting to go brown, so like these are good when the flowers are white. So these ones are a little bit far gone, but these ones are really nice.
Okay.
So these ones here, I'll just let them go to seed. Or if somebody really needs this, I will just harvest this right now because it's going yellow, and then I'll just start drying it. Again, because it's in my bed, because it's in where my ground cherries are supposed to be. But I still got ground cherries, so I'm just gonna leave them. But that's the type of gardening that I'm doing here, right? So a lot of these wild things, if I had time to weed them, I would. But this year what I did was I hand weeded in between each bed, and I laid mulch this year, and it seems to be working. And it seems to be the only weeds growing are on the sides of the beds. And where I didn't put the mulch and hand weed. So I'm gonna keep doing that. But I don't have monies. So like the monies that I do get from things like this, I'll put towards, I have an outhouse here for everybody. So that's taking a lot of my money right now. So right now I'm trying to fundraise some monies to come up with an outhouse. It's gonna cost me like $3,000 for materials and labor. So I'm trying to figure that out right now. But the monies that you give me are gonna pay for the outhouse bill that's already outstanding. So thank you for helping with that. Yay.
Make a suggestion.
Yeah.
In keeping with the outdoor nature creation, we should just eliminate the outhouse and just get people to just use the bush.
Yes.
I
So
don't use outhouses.
some people do that.
I use the bush.
Some people do that when they come here because they're so in love with the off-grid space that they do go and use the bush because they just feel that's the way to be here. But pretty soon I am trying to come up with like a composting toilet because I really feel like composting is the way of the future, and I want people to understand that it's not gross. It's just a different method, and if we just gonna store our waste in our backyards, then why couldn't we do the same thing and just compost it? There's nothing wrong with that, right? So figuring out ways to come up with a composting toilet, that's my next move. Okay. Yeah.
It's very simple.
That's the easy method.
It's,
We use like wood shavings
yeah.
and very
But do you have to buy the wood shavings?
So we get the wood shavings from like a feed store.
Okay.
But I mean, you could just mulch your own. Too.
Yeah.
They just have to be thin enough that they like
Okay.
biodegrade quite easily.
Oh,
but
I
we
see.
just have a tank that has it has drainage in it so that the solid and the liquid waste are getting separated.
Okay.
And we add wood shavings as we use you use the washroom, you throw in a cup of wood shavings, and we dump it. We have an area, far off on the farm where we dump it, and no one likes to think about it, but it is beautiful compost.
It
We don't
is.
use it for anything, and people are taboo about it, but human waste is also
Yeah.
really good compost.
Yeah, for sure. See, I like that.
Yeah.
And now you just gave me an idea that I never thought of, and that was separating liquid from solid.
Because
So
that's when you get sewage.
Yeah.
When they sit together.
Yeah,
When
okay.
things get funky.
yeah.
But
Okay. So
if
that's
you separate them, if
Yeah.
you let the liquid drain off,
yeah.
then it's a different.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no smell to our house at all.
Yeah.
And our staff use it all summer.
Yeah, and I don't want an outhouse. I refuse to dig a hole and move an outhouse every however many years.
Yeah.
I just refuse to do that. But anyways, yeah, good ideas coming here. So very good. I
It's all
love
about
it.
sharing information.
Yes, it is, and I feel strongly about sharing our own journeys and our own stories, and that's a big part of us getting to know each other. It's also a big part of us finding out who we are. Maybe you find something else about yourself. And that is that you can be out here in this nature and it's not bothering anybody, and I love it.
Really nice stars at night.
Yeah, so this is like zero light pollution. There's solar lights, but there's no like street lights or anything like that. So it is a really nice place to be. Like after 5, once all the traffic's done from, the end of the day, it's really quiet out here. There's like beavers, there's deer, there's moose, there's porcupines, there's coyotes, foxes. I've seen lynx, I've seen bobcat, I've seen eagles and cranes and blue heron, and these are all amazing things to see because we're not far from the city, but we're still just seeing all these things right here in this space. I see bear tracks and deer tracks in the garden all the time. If I see them, I'll show you them. I don't see them today. But they just come here to visit and hang out. They don't come here and devastate anything. And I think that big part of that has to do with the restoration. So I'm leaving enough food for all of us. And there are no fences here. I don't know if you noticed that, but I allow everything to roam freely because this was their space before it was my space. And it feels really important to me to be sharing that space with them the same as they share it with me.
Coexisting with them.
Exactly. We have a reciprocal relationship, and it's because Mother Earth gave us this life, and so I believe in really giving back in order to receive all these beautiful things that I'm able to give to my community. So we do always give back before we take anything. Try the tea when you're not going to drive this thing. That's awesome. Because some people, they get really relaxed.
Okay.
It's not going to put you to bed, like it's not
like a sedative.
no, it's not, but it could relax you so well that it put you to bed to give you a good sleep.
Okay, that's a really
You know
good
what?
thing
If
to
you
know.
said that, I'll take a bit more, please.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
What do you want?
More tea.
More tea. I'm just not. Now you're making me feel like
Did
I
you say
need more.
sweet ones?
Sweet currant? Do you guys want that to go home with?
Cut
Yeah.
this guy. You can make a tea
Does
out
it
of.
taste good? The tea?
It's a little more herbal, but it's nice. I always mix a little honey in it.
Oh, I see these everywhere. See, I don't know. Maybe like every time when I walk, I always take a look at the plants. I'm like, I wonder what you're about.
Yeah.
And how about the berries on here?
Oh
They're not berries, but are they like the seeds?
Oh, those are going to be berries. Those are wintergreen berries when they're all red. They're like the best to eat and put in your tea.
That is so neat. And I just picked the leaves?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the whole plant is once again. But yeah, I just take the leaf.
I want it to be able to grow.
Oh, well then you might want to take some roots then.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I thought that would hurt the plant. See?
Well, sometimes you need to
See what colonization happened? It totally disconnected us.
yeah. It happens.
It happens.
It happens.
What can you do?
What you can do is you can talk about your story and you could share these things that you're learning.
Yeah.
Like I'm really, really affected by residential schools, Indian day schools, and culture loss. So for me, it's really important that we talk about those things.